Hello everyone and welcome back to my opinion. And the Sunrisers Hyderabad have beaten the Punjab Kings by 7 wickets and have registered their fourth consecutive win of the season. And I think that what they'll be really happy with in their last four games is that uh, again things didn't go beyond the number five mark. And I've said before that without Washington Sundar playing in the side, they wouldn't really be expecting consistent performances from number six onwards. And that's why they would have been really happy that their top five did the job in their last four games. And I think that is their template. And really for at least two of the top five to bat through the innings. And that they've really been very good in their last four games with bat and ball. And for Punjab Kings, based on what SRH have done before, especially on this ground, you never thought that they'd struggle too much to chase the score down unless Punjab Kings just have an absolutely brilliant day with the ball. I thought Rabada and Arshdeep Singh were very good, 1 for 29 and 2 for 28 respectively. But apart from that, though, there wasn't really too much to speak of. Arshdeep Singh having a slight off day considering he went at a bit more than the run rate required for this chase. Vaibhav Arora was good for his first 3 overs, but got a bit of tap in his last over. And Liam Livingston and Dean Smith, their overs going for 27 runs in 3 overs. So I think that there wasn't really too much for Punjab to speak of. Yes, there were some very good performances from Rabada and Rahul Chahar, but not too much else. There was simply too much for them to do against a lineup that had chased 150 odd, 160 odd scores on this ground before, and they were fairly confident this time they would get the job done, and they batted like that. So regarding the starting lineups of both these teams, Mayank Agarwal apparently had an injury for this game, so Shikhar Dhawan was the captain, and Prabhsimran Singh was in the team in place of him. Now, before I saw Jitesh Sharma in this tournament, I thought they'd play Prabhsimran Singh at number 3 and Johnny Bairstow at number 4, considering Bairstow bats at 4 for England in the T20 side. But with how well Jitesh Sharma has gone, that's the reason why he kind of took up that slot there. And the one thing they were losing out with Agarwal not being in the side is, look, I've said before that Dhawan, Agarwal, Johnny Bairstow, you'd probably think especially with how classical the top two are, and with Johnny Bairstow being one of those players that combines power with smarts as well. Liam Livingston in his last few innings, especially today as well, has shown that he can do that. Another 60 for him has really been proving me wrong. But I still thought without Mayank Agarwal being in the side, especially after playing so well in the previous game, it was quite a bit of a disadvantage for the Punjab Kings. As again, in that top three, the batting smarts would kind of be compromised there. Prabhsimran Singh is much more kind of just goes from ball one. And so that was the change for their side. And for Sunrisers Hyderabad, the same 11 from their previous game. And Kane Williamson once again won the toss and chose to field first. I mean, this is kind of the way that they'd like to go. They'd probably want to play on these slower surfaces, have 150 or 160 to chase, and in the end do so quite comfortably. That is their game plan. It will be tested, I think, especially if you're playing. I said in the Brabant Stadium, but they managed to restrict KKR to 175 and take advantage of the fact, kind of what I said about KKR's attack in previous videos. So even then, they haven't had to chase two big scores apart from that one game against Rajasthan Royals, where no team would have had a chance with the way they were bowling in the power play. But I still thought that this was, especially in this kind of situation, this was the way the SRH would have wanted to go. And with the ball, they really set the tone. I thought Bhuvneshwar Kumar and Marco Janssen were really good up top. And Shikhar Dhawan and Prabhsimran Singh, they kind of tried to get a move on, but they couldn't really do so. And Dhawan was dismissed off the bowling of Bhuvneshwar Kumar, who I thought was outstanding today, 3 for 22 in his 4 overs. And soon after a partnership of 23 runs between Prabhsimran Singh and Johnny Bairstow, the former was dismissed and caught behind off the bowling of Natarajan for 14 off 11. And then Johnny Bairstow, again, he hasn't exactly had the greatest start to the tournament so far. Something which, he'd be really disappointed with this dismissal, because I think in the first one, a good delivery from Ferguson. In the second one, a good slow ball from Jaydev Unadkat. But in this case, it's kind of with the length, it wasn't quite there to sweep that delivery from Jagdisha Suchit, who I thought after that first game where I thought he was lucky to only go for 32 in his 3 overs, he really had an improved day-to-day of 1 for 28 in his 4, that to the vital wicket of Johnny Bairstow. And it was too full to sweep, and he was adjudged LBW for 12 off 10. So again, a third, I thought he'd be really more disappointed with this dismissal, because there were fairly good deliveries in the first 2 dismissals, but in this case it was just kind of an error in judgment. And again, the first 4 wickets fell quite a bit of they fell within the first 8 overs. And I think what you can say by this is that for the Punjab Kings, they really want to get that slam bang start. I think if you're looking at the power that this lineup has, yes, they are also very good players as well. Like kind of especially the top 3, as I said, in terms of combining that quick scoring with smarts as well. But generally, this lineup wants to get on with it. And especially on this surface against a bowling attack that would be really confident as well, it wasn't quite there to do that. And 61 for 4 after 8 overs, it wasn't exactly great going from them at all. I think that they couldn't really adapt to what from their natural game plan, which would be to really go after the bowling. And 61 for 4 in 8 overs. You thought that things weren't great for them because of another thing. I think that after establishing a base, let's say that 124 and 13 over mark, after the set batsman has got out, the other players after that haven't exactly been able to get that kick in the last few overs, and that's the reason why, despite the fact that they have such a powerful batting lineup, they actually are among the lower end of the teams which score at kind of the higher rates in the last 5 overs. And it's because of the fact that they kind of lose their set batsmen going into that phase, and the other players just, as I've said, combining the power with the smarts, it isn't exactly quite there, especially with the likes of Shah Rukh Khan and Adair Smith. And with Shah Rukh Khan, I actually thought that he played quite a good innings considering the situation, 26 off 28. He'd kind of tried to go slam bang in the other innings because that was the situation. But in this case, I thought along with Liam Livingstone really playing the destructive role, another recovery partnership that Liam Livingstone is being involved in, and that too, he's been the aggressor in all 3 of those, scoring 60s in each of the 3 occasions. And Shah Rukh Khan was dismissed but for 26 of 28 deliveries. Yes, it may seem like not too great of an innings, but I could think in the situation, it was really needed when Liam Livingstone was going hammer and tongs. And I think towards the end, Liam Livingstone was quite strike deprived, and that is something which hurt his inning. He was dismissed for 60 off 33 off the bowling of Bhuvneshwar Kumar at the end of the 19th over, and also it affected the Punjab Kings score because of the fact that Livingstone was strike deprived. Wickets were falling quite regularly towards the end, with the best batsman of the innings not getting enough strike. And when he got out as well, the innings kind of capitulated a bit, and 151 all out after being, I think, they got to 100 in 12 or 13 overs. So they'd have been quite disappointed that they couldn't get more than what they got. And another case of the Punjab Kings, I know in a different situation this time, but not being able to take advantage of those last few overs because of the fall of wickets. So they would have been a bit disappointed because they really should have got more than what they got. And with the bowling, look outstanding. I mean, Bhuvneshwar Kumar, 3 for 22 in his 4. I thought Jansen was good for like the first few overs, but then gave in the end 9 for 35 in his 4 for him. Natarajan bowled better than what his figures suggest, but 1 for 38 in 4 overs for him. And Suchit, a real improvement from his previous game, 1 for 28 in his 4, and Umran Malik, 4 for 28 in his 4. Outstanding from him. Especially 3 wickets coming in the last over. And yeah, I think that especially with what he did in the previous game as well, and now in this game, he really has been outstanding in this IPL season. He's very raw, but he has had a great start so far. And Sunrisers would have been fairly confident, since this is something that they've done in their previous occasions, playing in this in this stadium. And again, Punjab had all to do going into the second innings, and SRH would just think, if we just do what we did before, then we will get over the line for the fourth time. And once again, a slowish power play. Kane Williamson being dismissed off Kagiso Rabada for 3 of 9. And I think, look, if you're looking at Williamson so far in this tournament, he hasn't exactly come to the party by any means. His highest score has been 32 of 41. And yet, when he's dismissed, you're not actually thinking he hasn't had a great time. You're thinking Rahul Tripathi can walk in earlier and they'll be able to increase the scoring rate after taking the first few overs slowly. So I think that more than Kane Williamson failing, it just gives Rahul Tripathi an opportunity to do what he does. And 34 of 22 for him, once again responsible for really resurrecting the run rate in this innings. Abhishek Sharma also went okay, 31 of 25. And their partnership lasted for 48 runs until after the strategic timeout. Tripathi tried to take on Rahul Chahar and was caught in the deep by Shah Rukh Khan. A disappointing shot, especially when he's in such good form, only chasing 152. You'd think that he could have taken a bit of time after the timeout to really resume from there, but you thought that 62 for 2 at that point, with the main aggressor in this side to really get that transition from a slow power play to really going along swimmingly. I think that with him being dismissed for 34, a very good innings, but they wouldn't have wanted him to be dismissed at that point. And 2 overs later, a set Abhishek Sharma also trying to take on Rahul Chahar and being caught by the same fielder. So 2 dismissals that were a bit of an inconvenience at that point. 2 new batsmen at the crease. And I think the Punjab Kings, I wouldn't exactly say they were back in the game at this point, but they would have thought, right, they rely on their top 5 to get the runs. And with the 11 that they're playing today, the next to come was Shashank Singh, who we haven't seen bat. And then it's effectively the bowling all-rounder in Suchit. And then it's just kind of the bowlers in Bhuvneshwar Kumar and Janssen that can bat. But of course, they wouldn't have the same assurance of the top 5. So they would have thought, if we get one of these 2 out, we may have a bit of a chance in this game. But Aidan Markram and Nicholas Pooran were absolutely outstanding. 41 of 27 for Markram, and Nicholas Pooran playing such a mature innings. Realizing that he didn't exactly have to go at hammer and tongs to get this total. 35 of 30, only 1 4 and 1 6. But I thought, especially towards the end, the way that they ran 2s really put pressure on the fielders. There are a few cases where the Punjab Kings fielders could have done better to limit the runs to 1 rather than 2. But in the end, the Sunrisers taking advantage of that. And 152 for 3 was another great win for them. And again, I'm not surprised by this at all. As I've said before, quite an overhated side after the auction. I still think that in a 200 kind of chase, it'll be interesting to see how they go. And as far as Kane Williamson opening the batting, I think that obviously it's not too great that usually in a T20 game, you'd have the first 2 overs go for about 10 or 11 runs to really kind of for the opening batsman to get a sighter. But for this SRH side, it's kind of double that, and it takes quite a bit of the power play, sometimes kind of 5 overs of the power play, and it really takes kind of a good over for them to switch gears, and after that they go quite swimmingly. So it works when you're chasing 150, and I think it's kind of got to a stage where because they've done it twice before, the moment they were chasing that kind of a score in this game, they really probably would have been really happy with that, and they would have, because of they would have just felt that it was quite an easy roadmap that they could follow to get the win in the end. And regarding who I think should open, Williamson or Tripathi, obviously with the first 4 overs not going for too many runs, it's never a good case in a T20 innings. And so the temptation would be to get Rahul Tripathi to open the batting. I guess also something to think about there is that if Tripathi opens the batting and somehow gets out, then again, with this team relying on that top 5, you wouldn't want someone who's in such good form to be dismissed. And also you've got Abhishek Sharma and Kane Williamson batting together. And again, you won't be able to get that kind of a start in the problem is the player that can really increase the run rate would be already dismissed, and then you've got the two players that take it slow in the power play to bat, and you won't exactly get anything out of that phase of play. But also, look, Kane Williamson, I've seen many times where I mean there's a reputation that he has of kind of being a 150 160 innings kind of player, and I think that that's just nonsense, because there have been many times I've seen him really play outstanding innings when chasing a high score. I remember in IPL 2018 he scored 81 or 48 and almost won the game for his side against RCB. And when he hits at the end, it really is something to watch. He takes his time for his first 20 balls, kind of like a Rutraj Gaikwad, but then really goes swimmingly after that point. And so I actually think him batting at number 3 would really get him in the zone a bit more. I just think that you'd probably, if you could get that start, that fast start from Tripathi in, let's say, the first 4 overs, and Abhishek Sharma also grows into the game as well, then that would work for SRH. And for Kane Williamson, he certainly can be a match winner batting at number 3. I remember in IPL 2018, he scored 784 runs. And really, in a side that the batting wasn't exactly too good, nowhere near as it is now. Apart from Dhawan and Williamson, they did struggle when sides posted kind of 190, near 200 scores. And they really relied on Williamson and Dhawan, who had great seasons that year, to get them over the line. So he certainly can bear the responsibility, and he's got other players around him like a Tripathi, Markram and a Puran that can help in really increasing the run rate. So I think with him batting at number 3, and if he really kind of works into his innings, kind of being held afloat at the start from a very good power play or really good impetus given by Tripathi, then who also had a great season for RPS in 2017 when he was really unearthed in professional cricket. And I think that this team, it would be a slight improvement in the way that they go about things. Yes, Rahul Tripathi at number 3 has been outstanding this year and in the previous year for KKR. I've said before that he's really been able to transcend the surface. Him and Suryakumar have such a unique ability to be those middle order batsmen. I mean, especially Tripathi can bat anywhere, and he can transcend the surface even if it's kind of a slow surface as it was today. And so, I think that it is quite an advantage that they have him in the side. Something which they struggled in, let's say, the previous season, was getting that impetus through the middle overs. Kane Williamson did work in at sometimes number 4 and play those very intelligent innings to get that strike rate to 150 and really give some quick runs to his side at the end. But with someone like a Rahul Tripathi, as well as Aiden Markram and Nicholas Puran striking the ball so well, they do rely on their top 5, but this team does look quite good. And regarding the Punjab Kings, I mean, especially 2 of their 3 main bowlers stood up today really well. 1 for 29 in 4 for Rabada, and 2 for 28 and 4 for Rahul Chahar. But as I've said before, I think that a lot of this lineup is kind of the balance between power and smarts isn't exactly quite there yet, and especially with the likes of Adair and Smith, you're really looking for him to come good. And I think it's quite harsh to expect him to come good as a batsman more often than not. Again, he is a bowling all-rounder, but as I've said for a few bowlers in this tournament, he is quite a comfort zone bowler. And again, you're probably going to have to be patient from getting a real contribution, kind of a defining or kind of an accessory of a contribution with the bats, like we got in the game against the Royal Challengers Bangalore in Punjab's first game. But apart from that, I think the bowling attack did what they could. I mean, it isn't a bad bowling attack by any means, but I think apart from the game against CSK, you wouldn't exactly have backed them to defend a 150-odd score, especially against a team that was this confident when chasing that kind of a score. And so I think the bowlers did all that they could. The batting, again, they probably struggled because of the fact that this wasn't an innings this wasn't a game where they could really go slam bang from the top. And you've seen Prabhsimran Singh 14 off 11, Johnny Bairstow 12 off 10, Odion Smith 13 off 15, and even Dhawan 8 off 11. They don't really like batting on these slower surfaces, and I think someone like a Mayank Agarwal, if he was available for this game, certainly would have got those runs in a more of a risk-free way. You'd think that he may have added those kind of got those quicker runs at the top without really having to seemingly look like he was going hard at the ball. And yeah, that's pretty much that's pretty much what, sorry, that's what meant sorry, what am I saying? The Punjab Kings batsmen didn't actually feel settled in this innings, simply because of the fact that they would have wanted to bat some kind of a belter of a surface to get those 200 kind of scores. But in this case, again, with I've even said before where the balance between smarts and power isn't exactly there too much in some of the players in the side, and that's the reason why they would struggle batting in this kind of situation. And once again, as I've said before, in a different situation, but still the fact that they haven't exactly taken advantage of the last few overs, because what's happened is their set batsman has been dismissed, especially in those higher scoring games. Their set batsman has been dismissed just before the 15th over or so, and the other players just try and go too hard at the ball, and it doesn't exactly work out in terms of where they were looking like getting to. And in this game, 100 runs in the 12th or the 13th over, with the likes of Shah Rukh Khan and Livingston still batting, you thought that if they'd batted for a few more overs, or I think 132 they were after 16 overs. You thought if they batted for 4 more overs, they could get past that 170 mark, but it wasn't to be for Punjab, and a great win for SRH. And yeah, that was this game today. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Please share the video with your friends. And remember, this is my opinion. What's yours?